Here at Kashiwa, we have kind of a problem. You see, we're a lower league side and we don't have a lot of money. We also have a really small arena, like 15,000 seats. We're not going to be able to afford the famous global package for scouting. And we're going to have to be very careful about how we spend our money in the future. Now, it's okay, right? I've told you before, we want to mostly sign domestic players. We want a lot of Japanese players on this side. But it's still helpful to have a good scouting range. I mean, among other things, it helps us expand our player search, so it's easier to find players we might want to get. It'll also help us learn about players that become available. So it would be nice if we could expand the range of our scouting knowledge. Well, it just so happens that there are some things that we can do to expand our scouting range and to look around for good players. One of them is that we can hire scouts that come from other countries. Now, with a club with such low reputation and without much history, that's much easier said than done. We can find some scouts that are from the region, but not a whole lot of scouts are going to flock to come to our club. We want to be really strategic about this as well. We don't necessarily want to sign the scouts that just have the best ratings. Remember, we want to focus on players from Japan and then players first from East Asia and maybe stretching out a little bit into Southeast Asia and the Pacific Islands. And so when we look for scouts, we're going to look for scouts that cover that region, but also that want to work for us. It's not so easy. We can also hire scouts with knowledge of other countries, which is a little bit easier. This way we can have knowledge of places like Brazil. For some reason, scouts from Japan and South Korea love to know about Brazil. But we can also find some scouts that know about China, know about Thailand, places like that. Another thing we can do that you might not think of is we can hire players and other staff members that come from the countries that we want to target. That's something I don't see mentioned much when we talk about this, but if you have players from a country, and especially staff members from a country, your knowledge of the scouting situation in that country will naturally increase. You want to be careful when you select your nationality at the start of the game, because that'll make a difference. If you have a nationality from a country that it's hard to find scouts who know much about, you're going to have a little bit of an advantage. Now, I don't know how much of an advantage there is to having North Korea as a second nationality, but it's definitely hard to find scouts who know about North Korea, so there's something there. And another tip that I really recommend doing is to look for players by hand from the country that you're interested in looking at. We'll look at Vietnam here. It's not easy for me to find scouts who want to work for my club that know anything about what it's like in Vietnam. Now, this doesn't mean that necessarily I'm expecting to find tons and tons of football talent in Vietnam, but I do think that it would be interesting and possible for us to find something out there, maybe some players that are a little bit cheaper, maybe some squad players, and eventually maybe find a wonder kid or two to sort of round out the squad a little bit. If you want to do this, one of the best ways to go about it is to look at the country's under 19 squad or under 21 squad or under 18 squad, depending on the country, and just have your scouts look at players individually. As they look at those young players, you'll find that they also get to see other players that are around them. So there you have it. When you think that all has failed, remember you can hire scouts from other nationalities. You don't have to go onto the screen and just choose the scouts with the highest rating. You can hire scouts who have knowledge of other countries. You can search for that. You can hire players, other staff members from those countries. You can select a nationality at the beginning of your game that will give you a knowledge of places you wouldn't otherwise have. And you can choose people to scout by hand from the countries you want to target. And as time goes on, your scouting information in Football Manager will naturally increase.